Thanks for tuning in to the Urban Scope podcast. I will be doing the review of UConn USC from last night on Fox, on the Fox channel. A very good matchup last night. It came down to the wire. USC initially pulled ahead with an 18-point lead throughout the game, but after sloppy play and some unfortunate mistakes, uh, UConn was able to creep back into the game. It was exciting that everything that they promoted it as. It didn't get promoted as much as I would like, but the matchup was everything that us fans looked for in a matchup, in a marquee matchup between two marquee players. Well, three marquee players if you account Kiki Arifin, who's one of the top draft prospects for the WNBA for next year. But it was all about Juju Watkins and about Paige Buchers last night, and they delivered. Unfortunately, for UConn, they lost that matchup, but for USC, they got a little bit of revenge from last year of losing to UConn. And this win was just pretty impressive for USC, even though they didn't finish out strong as they would like to. But, USC did pull out the win 72-70 over UConn, and USC did this on the road. So to do this on the road was even more sweeter for USC and for them to actually have a confidence booster going ahead. Looking at that, the Big Ten conference that they're in, it's a lot of powerhouses right now. So every win counts. The strength of schedule is considered when you trying to get positioning in an NCAA tournament. So that's going to be very vital for every team to get the big, get all these big wins and not lose to the smaller teams. So it's going to be very competitive going to the end to see who gets that number one seed. And, for seeding purposes, you want to gather every win that you can get. But nevertheless, last night, like I said, it was a very great night for sports and women's sports in particular. UConn came out with the T-shirts. Everyone watches women's sports, so it wasn't just about promoting women's basketball, but promoting women's sports as a whole. We know there's a stigma around women's sports that's dull, but last night that matchup had none of the elements. From being a fan of WNBA and the women's basketball um, as a whole, just I think it's just the dunking aspect. But even in men's basketball, they don't dunk as much as they used to. But for purists of the sport and people who love basketball, we know it's about way more than just dunking a basketball to make it exciting. It's about the gameplay. It's about the speed of the game. It's about the talents and the superstars that you can create around it. So they definitely had that last night. Kiki Arifin last night. Like I said, she had 16 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists. Monster game from her. She showcased superstar ability that WNBA teams will be excited about. And I'll talk about more about her game last night. I wasn't too familiar with her game, and she showed it on full display last night. Then you had Juju Watkins, who put up 25 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. She had a very dominant game from the start. Defensively, at the end of the game, she made a stop that was very important and very crucial to the win. We'll talk about that later as well. But someone else's game I wasn't familiar with was Sarah Strong, who played in the post. We had a post sighting last night, y'all. 22 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 assists. The footwork was amazing from Sarah Strong. And like I said, the post game in NBA has been obsolete lately. So to see that again, it was just a blast from the past. And she put that on full display last night. They couldn't do anything with her. Even Kiki couldn't. She was shooting shots on Kiki, pulling out all these moves. She had a nice bag of tricks that she pulled out last night. Um, Paige Buchers, I keep saying her name wrong. Paige Buckers put up 22 points. She only had 2 assists, so it was kind of a slow night for her. She had to deal with Juju Watkins a lot, and I think it, wore it down on the offensive end. But nevertheless, when UConn was making that comeback, she was making shots and making big plays. So, Paige Buckers definitely put on a display last night for WNBA teams and made the average, for us fans excited about what's in the future. Her game is kind of similar to Caitlin Clark's, but she's not explosive as Caitlin Clark. but she brings some of the same elements and some of the same skill set. Probably not passing, but as far as scoring and being able to do other things. And I think she's a better defender, I think, a little bit than Caitlin Clark. So we'll see how her games translate when she makes it to the next level. She's the consensus number one pick for the WNBA draft coming up. So let's see if she can take her game to the next level, and see if she'll be able to get over those obstacles that are ultimately at the next level. But like I said, I was very impressed with Sarah Strong's game. She was able to, even though they were down most of the game, she was still pretty consistent in her scoring and being able to put pressure on the defense of USC, because USC kind of got a bad rap for being able to defend, especially early in the year. Now, what amazed me most about this game was that USC handled UConn fairly easy, opposed to the end of the game where they kind of let go of the lead. But when you think about USC earlier this year, the first game might have just been a hiccup, but they played Ole Miss that had a lot of length, and they kind of confused USC a lot. And USC barely pulled that game out. They won by 2 points. I believe the score was 68 to 66. But uh, it just showed you the ability that Ole Miss had on the defensive end. They'll be a problem for anybody if they make the tournament. We'll see how it goes, but that's an SEC team, so SEC basketball is a little bit different. It's mostly a football conference, but um, nevertheless, Ole Miss has some of those elements and showed you the blueprint of being able to deal with the USC. But you can't teach size, you can't teach length. So if you don't have that length and that ability to defend like that, you're gonna have to find another game plan. And UConn found that out last night. They had a lot of smaller defenders, and they weren't able to keep up with Juju. Paige couldn't do anything with Juju last night. She was scoring at will, pulling up from three, driving to the lane. She also got an and one earlier in the game, and it was pretty amazing how she was able to fight through the contact. But like I said, she still has 2 more years to develop, so we'll see even more probably from Juju going forward. This is supposed to be her down, so-called, down year, but she's not doing that right now. She's averaging about 25 points a game, a little bit down from what she did last year, but you know, it's still pretty relative in the scoring range. But the thing that messed up USC the most in this game is that they lost the turnover battle by 5 turnovers. USC had 18 turnovers in the game, and UConn had 13 turnovers. So that is the reason why they let UConn creep back into this game. Going forward, they know they will have to be more conservative with their passing. I think they did what most teams do: is when they get up by this large amount, they get sloppy with the basketball. They try to bury the other team by shooting all these unnecessary threes and jump shots, contested jump shots, instead of working your offense and trying to get a better shot. You just kind of get reckless with the basketball because you think you're up by so much that the other team can't come back. But however, you're playing UConn, one of the greatest college dynasties of all time, and one of the greatest college coaches of all time, in Gino Auriemma. So you're going to have to be more strategic with the way that you bring, uh, the way that you get your shot selection. Even if you're up by 30, I wouldn't trust it. I would still run my offense, run some time. USC was taking a lot of shots within 15 seconds of the shot clock. I think one time they took a shot, it was like 29 or 28 seconds still on the shot clock. Unless you're getting a wide open shot, you need to try to work your offense a little bit and put a little bit of pressure on the defense. Otherwise, you're just helping them out by, taking these unnecessary shots and giving them easier baskets on the other end, easy layups and things like that. So, like I said, USC got sloppy with the lead, just like pro teams do it all the time. So, I think it's just a learning experience for them going forward. And fortunately for them, they didn't have to take the L to learn it. So, um, hopefully, they will take that lesson and go forward with it. But like I said, Kiki and Juju carried the team at the end. Kiki had very good post moves and footwork. That's something I wish that Angel Reese had. I think she'll get it eventually, but Kiki has it now, and she's gonna be in the draft next year. But any team would be lucky to have her next year. I kind of hope that, well, Chicago doesn't need her because they already have a lot of post players, but she's a true post player, not just a um, Angel Reese is more of just a rebounder, and uh, Cardoso is more of the scorer. But like I said, she doesn't have the post moves that a Kiki Arifin has. Kiki has a complete game. She needs to work on her jump shot more, but I think in a post, she can make a living off just being in the post and rebounding. Like I said, her double double last night um, was just just unseen. Just from that game and that early for to be that young of a star. She's a senior, but like I said, she's still fairly young. Um, and she had a game. Kiki played a game high 38 minutes last night of all the players last night. So she showed she had the energy and stamina to withstand the game as well. Because like I said, she's a post player, so she has players she's physical with players all throughout the game. So it's not like she's some kind of guard or something that doesn't have the pressure. And she has players trying to wear her down, and she still was able to maintain throughout the game. She didn't even look tired last night. Like I said, her physique. I mean, not physique, but her training. It showed last night, and just to be able to have that kind of energy, it just shows her attrition throughout the game as well. But Juju's dominant start got him to that big lead. She was able to pull up for those threes and everything. Um, but another discrepancy throughout the game was that UConn only hit 58% of their free throws. USC hit 83% of theirs, even though they only shot six free throws and they only missed one. And I think Juju missed one in the fourth quarter. Um, but UConn shot like 10 out of 17 free throws. So another discrepancy, if they made most of their free throws, maybe they win this game. 10 of 17 is pretty poor standards from especially a college perspective. You want to be around the 75, 80% range, a little bit higher, somewhere around there. They didn't sniff that last night. So, and also the big discrepancy, which is the analytical game right now, is that UConn was only 26% from the 3-point line. Um, USC hit 56%. So do the math on that. They doubled them up, more than doubled them up in the free throw range. 3-point shooting department. So when that happens, typically you're going to see a loss on the other team who shot less. 3 pointers on the name of the game right now, and if you're shooting a higher percentage, it's a good chance that you'll pull that game out. But the turnover battle kind of balanced this game out because it wasn't supposed to be close as it was. But overall, it was a very good game. I'm excited to see what USC and UConn have going forward. Not just those two, but also Notre Dame, UCLA, LSU, South Carolina. There's a lot of good teams out there in the NCAA women's basketball um, arena right now. So I'll keep an eye on those teams and those matchups. And then until next time, I'll see you next time.